Lesson 21, solving one-step equations by multiplying or dividing. So we've already talked about solving equations by adding or subtracting. Today we're going to do the exact same thing, except in this case we're going to be multiplying and dividing. So it says to find the solution of any equation, we use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Inverse operations are operations that undo each other. So for example, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. Properties of equality, that means that you can multiply or divide both sides of an equation by the same number and it does not change the value of anything in the equation. So, for example, it says solve each equation, then check the solution. So, what I have here is I have x divided by 7 equals 8. X is being divided by 7, so I want to undo that. I want to do the opposite. So instead of dividing by 7, we are going to multiply by 7. So what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So 7 and 7 will cancel. Bring down my x. And x equals 8 times 7, which is 56. Okay, same thing happens over here. I have 3 halves x is equal to negative 3, or negative 3 equals 3 halves x. 3 halves is being multiplied by x, so the opposite would be to divide. But hopefully you know that when we divide by a fraction, that is the same as taking the reciprocal and multiplying. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 3. So what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So 3 and 3 cancel, 2 and 2 cancel. My x comes straight down, equals, and then on this side I have 2 times negative 3, which gives me a negative 6, over 3, which reduces to negative 2. So negative 2 equals x, or we should really say it as x equals negative 2. But if you have negative 2 equals x, I'm absolutely going to take that because it means the same thing. What's on one side of the equal sign is equal to the other side, so I'm fine with that. Solve each equation, then check the solution. I would like for you to pause the video at this point and try and do each of these on your own paper. On A, we have 12x equals 132. Okay? To get x by itself, we have to do the opposite. These two touching means that they're being multiplied. So the opposite of multiplying by 12 would be to divide by 12. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. Something that I want to point out right now is that you always want to move whatever is with the x. Okay? Sometimes we get confused and we divide by what's on the other side of the equal sign, and that's not what we want to do. We want to move things away from x, so it's whatever is with x. Okay? And that will give me x equals 11. On the next one, same concept. Negative 8 times x equals 60, excuse me. So negative 8, I'm going to divide on both sides by that because it's being multiplied by x right now and I want to do the opposite. So negative 8's cancel. That means that x equals negative, because I have a positive being divided by a negative, and I believe it is 7.5. Okay, final answer. On C, this is another one of those fractions. Okay, you have 7/4 times x equals 9/14. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal on both sides because that's the same as dividing by 4/7 is multiplying by its reciprocal. And what I do to one side, I must do the exact same thing to the other. So I'm multiplying by 7/4 on both sides. 7s and 4s cancel, which leaves me with x. And on this side, hopefully we notice some canceling here. This 14, 7 will go into it twice, and 7 goes into 7 once, which means I have 9 over 8, which reduces to 1 and 1/8. If you didn't see the canceling and you multiplied straight across, it's fine as long as you simplify that answer. Final example here says Anita is an architect and she is designing a rectangular room that has an area of 126 square feet. Find the length of the room. If the length of the room is 12 feet, what is the width? First of all, they say that we have a rectangle, right? A rectangular room. You should draw me a rectangle. And they tell me that the area of the room is equal to 126 square feet, excuse me. Okay. So if the length of the room is 12 feet, that's what I'm putting here. Length of the room is 12 feet. What is the width of the room? Well, first of all, how do we find area? Area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So I know the area is 126. And I know that the length is 12. But I don't know the width. Notice I've substituted for the area and for the length. The width is what I'm looking for, so to get W by itself, I'm going to divide by 12 on both sides. So 12s will cancel, leave me with W equals 12 divided, or not 12, 126 divided by 12, I believe will get me 10.5 or 10.5, and make sure that we label it feet. That is your final answer. Make sure that you've taken good notes, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.